Today I'm going to show you how you make this perfect half circle skirt. I thought it would be a very fun idea to make a circle skirt calculator for my website, and today I'm going to show you how to use it. This will be the first in a series on how to make all kinds of circle skirts. The thing about circle skirts is that they're really easy to make and you don't really need a pattern for it. You just need to know how to do the calculations, and my circle skirt calculator does all the math for you. So you just need to know your waist measurement. You need to know your preferred length as well. This is a half circle skirt and I've made it in a Harris Tweed wool fabric. I've also made it with buttons and not a zipper because that makes it a little bit easier to make. So here you can see my calculator. First, you're going to choose if you want a full, half, or quarter circle skirt. Today, we're going to make a half circle skirt. You also have to choose if you're using centimeters or inches. I'm using centimeters. And you also have to choose your skirt length. Today, I'm going to make a midi. Here, you can see where to put in your waist measurement. First, you have to measure your waist. So let's put in a waist measurement. You can also put in your fabric width so that the diagram will show you how you need to fold your fabric. Now, I'll put in my skirt length, waist measurement, and fabric width. And here I can see that I need 187 centimeters of fabric. This refers to the length of fabric, not the width, which is in my case 140 centimeters. I see that I need to fold my fabric in half, so I'm going to do that. And I see that I have to cut 25.5 centimeters of a radius. The measurements on the circle include 1 centimeter of sewing allowance at the top and the bottom, so you don't have to think about that at all. Since I'm making the buttons overlap at the front and not using a zipper, I'm going to add 5 centimeters to my waist measurement so that the fabric will overlap a little bit. If you're using a zipper, you don't need to do this. So here you can see you need to cut out the radius at the top corner right here where you've folded the fabric on one side and have the raw selvage edges on the other side. And the length of the skirt is going to be 68 centimeters. Because that includes the sewing allowance at the top and the bottom, the skirt will end up being 66 centimeters long. I'm going to add 5 centimeters to my waist radius because of the button overlap. And here we have the finished diagram and we are ready to make the circle skirt. Having folded my fabric the way the calculator tells me to, I'm starting out by cutting out the waist radius based on the diagram in the calculator. I'm doing this by measuring and cutting as I go. I do the same thing with the length of the skirt, measuring and cutting out the fabric piece. The measurement includes 1 centimeter of sewing allowance at the top and the bottom. I'm also making a bias tape for the waistband. Mine is about 6 centimeters with sewing allowance. I make this a little longer than my waist measurement. Here you can already see the skirt is starting to take shape. The only thing needed is the skirt piece and the bias tape for the waistband. After cutting out the pieces, you need to finish off the side edges of the fabric. The selvage on my fabric is quite nice, so I'm leaving one side unfinished. Since I'm doing a button closure, I want to fold in the overlapping side, making it about 2 to 3 centimeters wider than my buttons. Here you can see how the overlap will look once I'm finished. Now I'm attaching the waistband and the skirt piece, the right sides together, sewing with a 1 centimeter sewing allowance. I am ironing the seam open and then up towards the waistband. Since my fabric is quite thick and heavy, I don't want to fold the waistband again on the inside, so I'm zigzag stitching the inside of the waistband. I'm then pinning it down to cover the seam, making sure to fold down the corners and hand stitching it down. Here you can see how nice the seam looks on the inside, and there's no visible stitching on the outside of the skirt. I am repeating the hand sewing on the folded side edges of the skirt, making sure to not sew through to the right side of the fabric, only catching a few threads on the inside. This will again make no visible stitching on the outside of the skirt. I'm hemming the skirt in the same way, zigzag stitching the hem, ironing it up, and hand stitching the whole way around. This can take quite a while. Now I'm adding the buttonholes to the folded side of the skirt, marking out where I want the button placement, first with needles and then basting with a different colored thread so that I can see it while sewing the buttonholes. I have 5 buttons on this skirt. Now the last thing to do is sewing on the buttons. I've also added some hooks and loops to make the skirt close nicely. I really hope you've enjoyed this short circle skirt tutorial, and please check out the new circle skirt calculator on my website. And please don't hesitate to use the feedback button if you have any feedback on the calculator.